It's MLS Matchday 16 this weekend with a huge 14-game card on Saturday night. Now let's get into this weekend's MLS predictions. And if you want more MLS, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, become a member of the channel, or you can see some of these picks as well written up on shredthespread.com. Now, last week, it was a big week for TFC. Federico Bernardeschi had a hat trick last week, but he got a yellow card, which means he'll be suspended this week versus Cincinnati. Toronto had 22 points all of last season. They already have 22 points this year, but it could be tough against the Shield winners, Cincinnati, this week, who have given up the fewest goals and the fewest shots on target in MLS. So after that great story of Toronto last week, though, they could be in tough this week. I'm going to be skipping that one, but did just want to point out the fact that they are on the upswing this season, and Bernardeschi had quite the game last week. Maybe it's the Toronto fan in me here. Now, there's another game that we'll skip over, but just to touch on, Columbus have the Champions Cup Finals on the horizon on June 1st. Coach Hernandez is said to be missing out this week in their game against Orlando. So I'm going to be steering clear of that one as well, even though on paper it looks like it could be a good game. Plus, Orlando's Duncan McGuire is also injured for this one as well, so some of the main players will be missing out on that. This week in midweek, we did see some U.S. Open Cup action with Atlanta sporting Kansas City, San Jose, LAFC, Dallas, and Seattle all playing, and the Canadian teams were all in action as well in the Canadian Championship with Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver playing. So all of those teams did have an extra game to play this week. Now, let's get into this week's MLS parlays and predictions. And be sure to give the video a like if you enjoy this information. Parlay number one, Atlanta and LAFC both played in the U.S. Open Cup. Atlanta played Charleston Battery. They needed PKs to win 5-4 after a 0-0 draw. Their only 2 wins in their past 10 games have come in the U.S. Open Cup. That means they're winless in each of their last 8 MLS games. Atlanta will again be missing Thiago Almada and Georgios Giacomakos, so that streak may be tough to overcome here with 2 of their best players missing and against one of the hottest teams in the league in LAFC. Even at home, Atlanta are winless in 4. They are usually unstoppable at the Benz, but it's not been the case this season. Atlanta's also only kept 2 clean sheets in 10 games. Both of those were against the Chicago Fire this season, and that is one of the worst scoring teams in the league. LAFC were home to Luton United in the U.S. Open Cup. They won 3-0 this week. They'll be on the road here where they are just 1-1-4, so they've not been a good bet when betting on the road. 1-1-4 in MLS, but overall they're flying. They have 4 straight wins right now. They only have 1 loss in 9. If you look at their goal totals in recent games, they've scored 3, 2, 3, 3, 1, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, and 5 in recent games. Now, there aren't tons of head-to-head meetings recently between these teams. They did play last season, though, in June in LA, and it was 0-0. LAFC would certainly be my pick if I had to pick a winner in this game. Certainly, they should get at least a goal. They've put the most shots on target of any team offensively this year, and they have the highest XG as well. And we just went through all of those goal totals from them from recent games. So let's go LAFC to score in leg 1 of this parlay. Next up, New England and New York City FC. New York City FC are surging up the table right now. They're 3rd in the East. They won the Hudson River Derby last week, 2-1. They've won 3 straight games, 6 of 7. They've scored multiple goals in all 6 of those wins, and they've scored at least 1 goal in 8 of 9. New York City, though, are without the suspended James Sands this week, while New England's Ryan Spalding took a red card last week, and he's out as well. The Revs should, though, get a boost with Dylan Barrio finally back to full strength. The Revs have continued to struggle, though, all season long. They lost again last week, and they are 2-1-9, 29th, dead last overall with just 7 points this season. There's lots of drama in New England, players yelling at each other, not shaking Caleb Porter's hand, and this season looks to be quickly getting away from them. New York City FC have scored 2 or more goals in 6 of their last 7 games. All I'm going to ask for them to do here is score at least 1. They already scored 2 versus New England this season when they won 2-0 in April. Moussaf Bakrar finally got his first MLS goal last week for New York. That could be the start of more for him. Let's just ask New York to score a goal here for leg 2, and we'll do one more team simply to score in this FC Dallas and Real Salt Lake game. It's 12th Dallas hosting 1st RSL. Dallas could have some confidence, though. They do know that they have won 2-1 and 3-1 last year against RSL, and they're undefeated 3-1-0 in the last 4 meetings between these teams. Dallas is just 3-3-6, though, on the season, and they have scored just 13 goals. That's tied for the 3rd fewest in MLS. When you include some recent U.S. Open Cup wins, their form is turning around. They did play this week. They won 2-1 over the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Dallas is 3-1 over the Tampa Bay Rowdies. and they are 3-1-0 in their last 4 with just 1 loss in 6 across all competitions. Last week, they drew a 1-1 in Houston in MLS. They beat Austin 2-1 the game prior. So now the question is, can they beat a team that's not playing in Texas and is not one of their main rivals? RSL fought back last week down 3-2 with just minutes to go in their game against Colorado, but with goals in the 85th, 88th, and 96th minutes, they fought back to get the 5-3 win. Chicho Arango added 2 goals. He now leads the Golden Boot race, and they also got a brace from Andreas Gomez. Arango has contributed to an incredible 21 of 27 RSL goals this season, and RSL still undefeated in 10 MLS games. As long as he's in the lineup, they're always a good bet to possibly win. So certainly to at least score. He himself could be just a good bet just to be a goal scorer prop right now. But for this parlay, I'm just going to ask RSL to score. If we go RSL to score, New York City to score, LAFC to score, we can get near even money, -109 odds over at Caesars. Parlay number 2, Colorado Rapids and the Minnesota United. It's a top 6 matchup here. We have 6 Colorado hosting 2nd Minnesota. Now for Minnesota, Miguel Tapias took a red card last week, so he'll miss out. But it was late, and the Loons were already up 2-1 over Portland, and they went on to win that game. They're undefeated in 5. They've scored multiple goals in each of those 5. And overall, they scored in 11 of 12 games this season as well. The Rapids lost 5-3 to RSL. They've alternated wins and losses in their last 6 games, but they have scored at least 1 goal in 9 straight and also in 13 of 14. Minnesota won 2-1 and 3-0 last season, and they've won 4 of the past 5 meetings between these teams. Now, there's some other trends between these teams as well, and that's lots of goals. There's been 3 or more goals in each of the last 6 games between Colorado and Minnesota, and also in 10 of the last 11. And if you just look at this season alone, there's been 2 or more goals in almost every game these teams have played against other teams. Colorado is 12-2 to the over 1.5, and Minnesota is a perfect 12-0, so there's been at least 2 goals in every Minnesota game this season. Both teams to score an over 2.5, has also gone 4-0 in recent Loons games, with scorelines of 2-1, 2-2, 2-1, and 2-1, and simply over 2.5, so 3 or more goals has happened in each of their last 6 as well. I think this looks like a sneaky, exciting game here, and I could see at least a goal or more from both. Let's go both teams to score for leg 1, and we'll do a 2-leg parlay here. Let's go Portland and Sporting Kansas City. Every Timbers game this season is basically must-watch TV if you like goals. The 3.9 goals per match in their games is tied for the most in the league right now alongside San Jose. After snapping a 9-game winless run prior, beating San Jose 4-2. Portland were back in the loss column last weekend, losing 2-1 to Minnesota. So it's 1 win in 11, and now 10 straight games where they've given up 2 or more goals. Not only have bets on both teams to score gone 12-2 in Portland games this season, but also the both teams to score and over 2.5. If we go back to that goals per match stat, which team is third? Well, it's this week's opponents, Sporting Kansas City. Their games are averaging tons of goals as well at 3.5 goals per match. Now, their form, though, is just as poor. They might be scoring, but they're not winning. They are coming off a loss, 3-2 in Austin last week. SKC has lost 4 straight. They're winless in 7, and they have just 2 wins on the year. They've given up a goal in 12 of 13, but they have at least scored a goal in 11 of 13 themselves. Now, that was after the weekend. They did get in the win column on Tuesday, though, beating FC Tulsa 4-0 in the U.S. Open Cup, though Tulsa did play half of that game down a man after a red card. When these teams played in April this season, SKC scored 3 first-half goals, only to see Portland come back and score 3 second-half goals, and these teams went on to draw 3-3. This time, I'm just going to ask for a goal from both, but we could certainly see at least a second from somebody. But for this parlay purposes, Portland and SKC, both teams to score, paired up with Colorado, Minnesota, both teams to score, would come in at plus 133 odds. And let's do one more parlay, 2 legs, late Saturday night at San Jose and Austin. It's 14th San Jose, meeting a surprising 3rd place Austin in the West. Here are the scores in the short head-to-head history between these teams. The very first meeting was in 2021, and it was 0-0. But since that time, it's been all goal fests. 4-3, 4-0, 2-2, 3-3, and 2-2 and 1-1 last year. And then a wild 4-3 Austin win in Texas this year back in April. That game saw San Jose take an early 2-0 lead before 3 straight Austin goals made it 3-2. The Quakes tied it 3-3, and then Austin got a late winner in the 101st minute. The Quakes' propensity for both scoring and conceding continued this week in the U.S. Open Cup. They lost 4-3 away to Sacramento. They've conceded in every MLS game, as well as in 15 of 16 overall games in all competitions. However, they are still scoring usually. They've scored in 13 of 16, and bets on both teams to score have gone 12-4. San Jose are still, though, bottom of the Western Conference, and they're tied for the second worst record in MLS. Austin has back-to-back wins. They have wins in 4 of 6, 6 of 9, and they've scored in 10 of 14. But only one of their wins this season, one of their 6 wins, have come on the road, and that was 1-0 versus a Houston team that always struggles to score. The Verde are just 1-1 in their last 3 road games. They do have 2 clean sheets, but they only have 1 win in 13 road games and 4 wins in their past 29 road games in all competitions. So they are a tough team to back to win when they're on the road here. To me, this looks like a both teams to score. We already saw 7 goals between these teams once recently. Austin gives up the most shots on target defensively in MLS. San Jose gives up, they are tied for the 3rd most shots on target against. Let's just ask each team to get 1 goal here. And then let's pair it with a game that's going to have a little less luster on it with some key players missing, but it's Vancouver and Inter Miami, also a late game Saturday night. It is the first ever meeting between these teams. Vancouver has started to fade. They're winless in 4 games with only a win over Cavalry in the Canadian Championship, breaking up a run of 6 other games without a win. Now, they were home to Cavalry again this week, and they lost 1-0 at home, but they do advance in the tournament on away goals. Just looking at their MLS games, they're winless in 5, but 4 of 5 have been on the road. At home, they were shut out 0-0 versus Austin in their last home game, but they had scored in each of their previous 5 home games at BC Place. Miami are off some uncharacteristically low-scoring games, 0-0 with Orlando and a 1-0 win over DC. The win came last week with another injury, though, with center back Nicholas Frere going down with an ACL tear. Miami is 6-1-0 in their last 7. They've scored a goal in 17 of 19 games across all competitions. And even though the defense has tightened up a bit of late, they had conceded in 14 straight games prior to the last 2 that they just played. But like I alluded to at the beginning of this preview, this is going to be a tough game to predict, as each of Messi, Suarez, and Busquets not only will not be starting this game, but they will not even make the trip to Vancouver. So that's a big blow for Miami, a big blow for the fans of Vancouver looking to see those stars in action. But there's a quick turnaround within a midweek action next week, so they will be resting, staying home in Miami. The Herons, though, they still have plenty of talent with the likes of Leo Campagna, Robert Taylor, Matias Rojas. They've all proved to be capable backups, but still big losses. But even on the Vancouver side, we still have Brian White, Ryan Gold, Fafa Pico. So there should be plenty of opportunities for offense in this game. I don't want to be betting Miami without those players, though, especially on the road here. But I'm just going to play it safe and ask for at least 2 goals in this game, one way, somehow, some way. Let's go over 1.5, Vancouver and Miami, with both teams to score between San Jose and Austin, and we can get that one at minus 119 odds in the parlay. Those are my best MLS picks this weekend. Now, what are yours? Be sure to share them down there in the comments, whether it be straight bets, parlays, props, whatever it is that you're betting. Help out by giving the video a like and subscribing to the channel, and best of luck this weekend.